A phone, the charge of the Light Brigade. I'll make sense of it as we go along. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. The title of today's lecture is The Charge of the Light Brigade. This was during the Crimean War, around 1854. I'm trying to remember. But it was it was when the British attacked the Russian position out of stupidity and arrogance. The charge of the Light Brigade, I think almost everybody was wiped out because the thing says cannons to the right of them, cannons to the left of them, into the valley of death rode the 600. That means that the Russians had cannons on all sides, and out of British arrogance and stupidity, they rode into the valley of death. And so that's one of the famous poems in history. They even have movies about it. And I just thought about it because this takes place in the same region. Crimea, 8 years ago, the Russians, or Crimea joined back with what's called, Russia. Okay, they also have Ukraine, and Ukraine, if you would remember, a little over a year ago, when they were having the hearings on Ukraine, and Donald Trump was involved, but more than Donald Trump, dummies, whatever his name is, the old man that's running around trying to be the president. That guy is really looking like a clown. He's really just like he on the sympathetic side, he's worse than Donald Trump is on the psycho side, because he's just blowing it. Okay, although the charge of the Light Brigade deal with the British Empire, we have now the Russians and Putin in place, which I consider this guy Putin almost equal to the Chinese in strategic. It's just that the Chinese got the whole party behind them, and they really on the money. If they could polish up a little bit in Africa and a few more little things, they would be really acceptable. Because this Chinese characteristics is really something. You know, Marxism, Leninism with Chinese characteristics. Shoot. I'll just say it, but I'll get back to the original. See, thing about China, now you got to remember right now in this whole triology, you can take China, the U.S. is trying to ferment stuff with Taiwan right now. They just really at it. And everybody know it. The Chinese know it, they know it, everybody know it. So if the Chinese is smart, they'll use this issue very correctly, not going back to the old Chinese laundryman, but just to play with, I would be suggesting, the Chinese should play with the West on this. They should play with them, just like we play with them. Loosen up a little bit. They didn't already won the fight. They don't have to worry about it. Plus, look who they up against now. They used to be just beating on Iran by itself, and Iran was holding up. And then they smoothed in a whole lot of allies that needed help, that drew off of Iran. Whether it's Lebanon, whether it's Yemen, right? Whether it's Palestine, right? Whatever it was, now you got to remember that the U.S. goes in, they talking about how we doing this to help the world and all of that dumb stuff, and they forget their record. I was listening to white folks this morning. They said since World War II, 82% or 82% of the invasions in the world since World War II has been this dummy here. And just imagine, I mean, the ink is not even dry right on the Gulf War I and II. Okay. Afghanistan, a day before yesterday. Abu Ghraib, all of that stuff. Guantanamo, where they go to take people down there, you never hear from them again. Right? And they hold you there for 100 years. Well, I mean, they might as well hold them for, they done had them brothers since I don't know when, without trial, in front of everybody like this is all right. The Zionists have stole Palestine and murdered Palestinians on TV every day, all day, and the U.S. is waving the Zionist flag, right? And all of a sudden, they come out with crocodile tears about poor Ukraine. Now, we're trusting, we're ready for the fun to flow. This is going to be big fun. You got to realize it. Did Dear Putin, I call him Dear Putin now. Well, why not? What the heck? When he turn on us, which he might, then we're going on our thing. But right now, it's Dear Putin. Why? Into the valley of death rode the 600. The Russian guns during the Crimean War was waiting for the number one imperialist, the British, to ride in there, and they blasted them to death. Okay, let's reverse it or add into it now. So, when did Putin realize that they laid a trap for him? He had to realize it 100 years ago, right? So, now, if he's sitting there and he tells everybody, okay, he give them their 3-time warning, you over here, forget about the Cuban Missile Crisis when you was going to send the world down, the World War III, when it would have made a big difference. And invade Cuba, all right. You felt that was your sphere of influence, 90 miles away. So what do you think about you going to put missiles and everything right next door to me, and I'm supposed to take it, right? So he done told them all them times. So let's look at it this way. The whole scenario, the U.S. is arranging a policy to get out of the dumps, to get into respect. They ran out of Afghanistan. They've been ran out of Iraq. They've been run out of everywhere, and everybody's laughing at them. But when a system is on the decline and on the way out, everything that it does accelerates its decline. So let's look at it the way it kind of is, just on the surface. First of all, Dear Putin just waits on them and waits on them and waits on them. And then they got all the troops there, and they just, okay, everybody wave at all your friends, and we get that. Don't forget that the areas that they go in on the way to the capital is mostly ethnic-speaking Russians. Okay, and therefore, hey, they're all for it. Okay. The other thing is the dumb Americans. Remember have you ever seen a Negro when he just messing up and it seems like he'll lose his job, he'll lose his house. After that, automatically he loses his family, he loses everything. And the longer he goes, he accelerates his own decline. He starts off by missing some things at work because whatever he's on, right? Okay. The U.S. is on illusion. They're drunk on illusion. They like, look, and they can't see, don't worry about it. They're not going to add anything up that's right because they're in an illusionary condition, right? We can call it something sophisticated like strategic illusionaryism. It's a disease that people get. It is true at a certain, when you're going downhill, the further you go downhill, you accelerate. And we saw people going up and down all their life. I don't care whether it's sports, when a guy coming in and he coming up, he can't throw the ball wrong. He almost can't do anything wrong. And if he do, he doing so much right, nobody pay no attention to it. But maybe the battering starts messing with his body, and he's not as brave as getting hit. He starts protecting himself from getting hit. He usually get the ball, just run that, but after a while, he get a little leery. You know why he get leery? Because he knows what his body feels like. He has to soak himself in a hot tub after every game. You know what I mean? Full of all kind of liniment and medicines and everything, right? Why? He done broke, I don't know how many ribs and what have you. It could be him. It could be a rodeo guy. All that stuff happens to, in every sport, there's a thing that attaches to you. If you're a pitcher, your arm starts to go, not your leg or your back, you know what I mean? If you're a rodeo rider, you done got gored and going back and forth on that horse for them horses and bulls for about so many years, it racks your body. You get your body, when the weather changes, you just stiff up. And when you stand up, you can't just stand up right away. You got to creep up because that 10 years of rodeo riding, 20 years, don't talk about 20 years of rodeo. You done got gored by so many bulls and cattle and kicked, you know what I mean? The clown can't get everybody, every one of them all the time, right? So you done got kicked by them 2-ton animals and they mad and, you're feeding them gunpowder and they just as mean as they can be. You know what I mean? Here you are, weigh 200 pounds, they get you in them horns and throw. You ever see them, they throw people off? Good God Almighty. After 20 years of that, your body is tore up. Okay, now, that's the way the United States is right now. In this struggle, the United States is tore up. Well, think about it. 58,000 in Korea, and that's what the Chinaman's made the movie. We talk about it, Chosin. All of that stuff was dealing with the so-called, in those days, Red Chinese and all of that, right? So in the wars, he haven't won a war since World War II. He lost in Korea. Everybody knows about Vietnam, right? He might have went in the Gulf War and killed everybody, right? But it don't go down for a win. In the world's picture, he invaded. Look, they talk about what Putin say. This guy done invaded Iraq off weapons of mass destruction. It's a joke. They got him in the UN showing them little things, little trucks moving around. And Colin Powell, poor fella, he said that was a big lie, and he was against his own self for telling that lie, And he kind of let everybody know that was a big fat lie. Okay. Abu Ghraib, people hanging up on wires, you know what I mean? Remember them pictures? Okay, That's the United States. Mean old red Russia is way in the background. Everything, the U.S.'s record on everything, all allies, this is all happened in the last few days, a few months. Okay, Australia going to get some submarines from France, right? Well, you get ours. You pay $1 zillion for nuclear submarines you're going to get in 10 years. 10 years, right? They can't get them next week. You can't get them. They got to make them first, if the U.S. can still make them. Okay, so their allies like the French, right? Okay, their allies like the Germans. Guess where the Germans and all the Europeans get all their heating gas from? They get it from Russia. They already built the pipeline, right? Okay, so, and they talking about telling them, don't you get no gas from them. And they telling all the Europeans, which is still cold in Europe. Okay, it's going to be cold for another couple of months. Okay, so if they put everything on hold and they just go through the summer, the winter will be back, and they'll have a long winter ahead of them. So they want to sanction the Russians to every last German, right, and all the French, right, and it's getting colder in the winter and hotter in the winter, and it's getting messed up. So this is a time where you need your supply of oil, heating oil, you need your supply of gas, and then the dear American people. They talk, okay, oil prices now, you would say that for Brent, you know what I mean, that good stuff, whatever it is, let's say it's 98, I saw 98, 97 point something. It's okay, fine. $98 a barrel. And other cheap oil is 92 or 93 a barrel right now, unless somebody's seen something. I looked at it this morning, and it had the same old from last Friday stuff on it. Anyway, people have to realize what that is. That means you can't keep the people away from it. If you keep Americans and if you keep that oil off the market, what does that mean? That means the Europeans going to freeze to death and already see the price of gas. You notice all European cars for the last 100 years been little bitty cars. So Japanese. The only people that was producing them big monstrosities, you ever look at an 85 Brougham, that thing is like, it's unbelievable. That's probably one of the last ones. But it's from here to over there. 500 cubic inches, 4-barrel carburetor. I know the ones I used to drive got either 7 or 9 miles a gallon in the city and 11 miles on the highway. But that's when gas was 36 cents, 30 cents a gallon, 35 cents a gallon, right? They got, 16-gallon tank, a big old tank. You could fill it up. You go a long way with them big 4-barrel carburetors, but that's when gas was 25 and 35 cents a gallon. 35 was the high price. I'm talking about back in the day. Now imagine now, right? You want everybody, when they cut off Russian oil, or they put all these sanctions on Russia, right? Guess what? Ain't nobody paying no attention to them. They always leave a loophole for themselves. Why? Hey man, you gonna tell us you're gonna tell us to freeze to death? and the price is already high, and they headed toward tripling and quarter. If you cut off Russia, which supply something like 80% of their heating oil, 80% of what they need for heating in the winter comes from Russia. They got the pipeline built. The U.S. said, don't use that pipeline. I'll fix y'all. Yeah, you'll fix them. You'll have it bring it over in them ships that'll carry 2 gallons a ship. It'll carry more than that, but it might as well be. And it's going to cost them. Sam ain't going to hook his allies up, right? Sam going to charge him state price, actual price. This is the way that go, right? Okay, so the point is that Sam, okay, everybody is back on tune. What I'll say is the U.S. is out of tune with its own history. You can tell the Chinese are in tune. You can tell the Russians are in tune. Okay, why would the Russians be in tune, and why would we be talking about the charge of the Light Brigade? That was when Crimea, I was doing they called it the Crimean War. Okay, but that was between the British and the Russians. And it gives you an idea when you read the poem, cannons on the right of them, cannons on the left of them, into the valley of death rode the 600. In other words, everything was there, you could almost see it, and they kept on riding. It was folly. When they talk about folly, they talk about the charge of the Light Brigade. Folly for us, foolishness, right? When you look at what's happening with the United States right now, what they just did, encouraging the Ukrainians to act the fool, blowing smoke, blowing air on the fire, heating it up, and then telling them, like the dummies they are, we're going to hook you up. Well, with Russian ships, planes, and missiles all around, how are you going to get them any weapons? Where are you going to take them? Belarus, folded they are. Well, Belarus, beautiful Russia. So they're almost home, folks. They are home. It used to be part of. Look, they holding the peace talks right today, right on the border of Belarus, right? Okay, everybody know what's going on. You would think if you looked at news, you would see before the Russians moved in, right? They had 4 or 5 television spots, news spots, and they had their best people explaining that this is what's happening. Okay. Now, since they kept going, you have to ask yourself, did the United States set the Russians up, or did the Russians set the Americans up? You just add it up. What did Putin have to lose? Nothing. Whose one looks like a clown? The Russians left Afghanistan decades ago, and you ain't even seen them trying to get back. And they friends, they have friends with Syria, they friends with Iran. Muslims, I just love, the Muslims whooped them so bad, they fell in love. You know where you beat a woman so long, she start liking you more. Cause something crazy about it, huh? Stockholm Syndrome, where the people is causing you the trouble, you start liking them more or sympathizing with them. Oh, you poor Hezbollah, they did that to you. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, Lordy. Well, that's the Negro with the white man. No, that's the Negro here. The Negro here, but the Negro's out of this one, except us, of course. Hey, look at here. They can put it all on the news. They can put it all on everything. We're getting ready to outline this. If we get 90% over, we get a straight A. Right. Maybe we give ourselves A minus at 95. Between what? 80 and 90, this is B. 85, B plus. Right? So far, our analysis of there will be no Arab Spring. What did we call the one in Mubashir? Before that, before the Arab Spring, Mubashir. This is Bashirun. Good God Almighty, you can't miss it. This is clear reality, the truth. It's good news. Okay, this right now is good news. It's good news. It's not going to be that many people hurt, and it's not that. Think of the news the last few years. Bush's son, money hooked up Ukraine, right? Got to remember that. Look at old, what's the name's them side? The old red-headed president, whatever, the orange-headed president. Trump. Putin said, that's my homeboy, give me some on it. It's right. Right? That's the way he did it. Now his people, see, they're not playing all of what everybody. What is his people saying? So if one got 75 million, 76 million votes and the other one got 70, what's the big deal? The division inside of the United States. So there's a whole crew that public broadcasting is not telling you about. They got an analysis on it. Now, I just want you to realize when Putin feeds them all of what they need on what they've been doing and what was going on with this crew and that crew, and then even over there, the crookedest people, not in the world, but are close by, is the Ukrainian leadership, and half of them are Nazis, right? So I want you to think about how this thing, see, the old man, whatever his name is, he's thinking like a Negro because he getting punched too much and his vision is going. I would say his vision is gone. Because number one, are you going to tell the Germans pay $10 a gallon for oil, for gasoline, the big Benzes they drive? See, over there, Benzes is cabs. Over here, they're luxury cars. But when I went over there, I was in Germany. I said, man, Benzes was just getting popular over here, you know. I said, wait a minute, the cabs is Mercedes over here. Everybody wants the cabs, like a Ford, you know, stuff like that. So that's what all the cabs are Benzes. It's just which one it is. And in those days, it was some big old Benzes. They was cabs, because that's where they make them, right? The point I'm saying is like the United States has organized everything in recent years around what's good for it. Whether it was with the submarines, with France and Australia, right? No matter what it is, the Americans have been going it for what's good for America, not for what's good for us, right? Therefore, that's why if you talk about sanctions and all of that, you hear homeboy talking about we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then you hear what Germany want them to exclude this because we need some such. So just wait 2 months. Wait till a good cold spell come through there. And they almost out of gas. It'll take that long for the gas to get over here from the U.S. or from Saudi Arabia at top prices. And Russia had already built the pipes, so they give it to you. Just think, the biggest producers of natural gas, one of them is Russia, the next one is Iran. They might have a few gallons, a few liters in Afghanistan, but the biggest people. So, and then the sanctions on Iran. Can you sanction somebody? Remember I was telling y'all I was on the plane with one of the oil ministers, and I was telling, man, I guess these sanctions, that was several years ago, kind of hurting y'all. He started laughing. He said, people are lining up to buy oil. He said, if we take $5 a barrel off, who's going to go, and you're going to get a shipload at $5 cheaper than the market? That's going to save you $5 million or whatever it is. And now that it's up to, even if oil was at $50, but now instead of $100, just round it off at $95 and $100 per barrel. And they talking about putting sanctions on. Where is that going to send oil, heating oil, regular motor oil, everything is going up, right? The U.S. has its own supply. The Europeans don't have no supply. They don't have this. It just so wasn't no dinosaurs died up in Europe. They died all down here. So all oil is over somewhere else. Hey, man. So, half a league, onward into the valley of death, road to 600. So Putin is not the bad guy in this. When he finished telling his story, he's waiting right now to tell his story. The Chinese are sitting back ready to tell theirs. That's why I said they ought to play with Boss Man. Like, they can do what they want. But if the Chinese came out smart, they wouldn't be the Chinese laundryman. But they would be kind of a little tough, but also sympathetic. Oh, you just don't like us. You did the Chinese Exclusionary Act. Oh, my goodness, you just don't like us. They're good for everybody else to come to America, but what? Us. A Chinaman's chance. And everybody look around, who's a Chinaman's chance? They all heard this thing. You put us on a rope to plant dynamite, and you get a Chinaman's chance if we can pull you up before you get blew up. In other words, if you ain't got a chance of escape or you got a Chinaman's chance, or you ain't got a Chinaman's chance, right? Okay, all of that. This is a psycho-spiritual struggle, so it should be, the Chinese don't have to prove themselves about the Opium War and the sympathy. They already back. So they don't have to prove like we back. Everybody know we back. So they should not be humble pie, but funny pie. Oh, boss man, you want Taiwan? It was nice. You come over here with Nixon, and we sign all this stuff, and we happy all these years now. Why you mad, boss? That's the way they should do him. I mean, I'm not saying that's the way I do him, but what's wrong? Well, they know the Chinese. Look, we've talked about it here years ago. This thing with Chinese characteristics is so deep because what did they bet on? Everybody, when they get up, they're going to accept this phony democracy and all that googly mess, right? And the Chinese didn't do it. The U.S. was brokenhearted. The minute they realized they wasn't going to do it, boy, did they get mad. I'm telling you. They got so mad you didn't know what to do. Oh, don't worry, we'll get into a little black history in about 2-3 minutes. But sometimes the issue, we're going to put ourselves in here too. No, because no, see, we're in this. When I say we, I mean us right here. Them, those, they're not in it. They're just on the boat. They're just in the stream, going wherever take them. We're not doing that. Whatever stream we in, we have our own rudder. We're taking ourselves where we want to go, no matter what the flow is. Okay. So this is this is a time where everything that we're talking about, we've already predicted it, but now we want to put the finishing touches on it. And we're putting it out there that we want to grade on this. If out of 10 things we talk about, if 9 of them come out, on above, we want to, if we get 90% or above, we want an A, right? If they get 20 or 30% right, they fail, they flunk, Okay. Those periods in history, what's happening basically is like the Thucydides trap, so-and-so is headed down, the West is going down. People like Germany, France, and others, they don't want to be drugged down with Boss Man. See, he's going down first because he's the brokest, he's the biggest, and he's lost the most. Can you imagine, you got scar tissue all on your eyes, your nose is looking like a truck can drive through it. That boy has been in fights, and everybody smiles at him when they see him, but they're laughing at him because he don't know what he looked like. Everybody's looking at him and they say, "Dog, Boss Man, life been working on you, boy. Good God Almighty." Because he's not paying attention to what's written right there. He don't remember last week or last month. He's got a fantasy. He's living in fantasy land. Okay, everybody else is not riding with him. Europe, they may talk that mess. You can tell he going around, "Hey man, say this and say that." And they're saying, "Okay, we'll say it, but we're not doing that." Number one, if we send, first of all, even if NATO get in trouble, you're not going to do nothing. You ain't never did nothing. We're way over here and you're way over there. Of course, he got bases over there, but you're not going to do nothing to no Russians. The Russians got whooped over in Afghanistan, and shoot, they didn't put together a whole new program. They can, man to man, pound for pound, they're not them bums who was over there during the Soviet Union period, right? And if you listen to the news, it'll tell you, well, the Ukrainians, they done just drove into Ukraine and they're not losing nothing. They're not, you know what I mean? And they had these brave Ukrainians coming on there talking about the strong resistance. That's bullcrap, right? You could look at the map and see where they are. It'll tell you what's going on. Other people don't do that. They up, way up. That place they talking about, when I used to look at the maps and be ready to go to Russia and all that, those things are almost so far up there, they're on the Russian border. Okay, so let me get to the original talk now. Charge of the Light Brigade. For us, we're going to play the system close. and not going to. We've been playing them close. We get right up under boss man. You know, just like if you fighting the guy with good reach and everything, there's no sense you standing out there and let him bust you upside the head. You just zoop, and the closer you are to him, the better you are. You know what I mean? And you tie him up and you whip him in close. That's the way we are. It's been almost face to face. It's almost been hand to hand combat with us. And they have been hitting us anytime, every time they want, and it haven't hurt us because we've developed a defense against his offense. In other words, even when he hit us, it don't hit us, you know. So this Masjid al-Islam and As-Sabiqun strikes back. There's a lot of physical in it, but it's mind, spirit, and heart. It's mind, spirit, and heart. So this is psycho-spiritual warfare. And it's not a lot of fighting we have to do. We're advisors. When we talk right here, you remember that the Russian press was right here. Deutsche Welle, the Germans, was here. It was Japanese press was here. All the Zionist press have been here. They would be here. They used to come in and just take pictures and everything at the Juma and run the cameras, and then they would put what they want out. But they already know. They have it from back in those days. And then when you look on the internet, it talks about very clear that the Soviet Union was brought down by the Afghans, and now the U.S., the other shoe, is getting ready to fall. That's what you read about us, that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying back in the day. Okay, like if it is a trip to be correct in analysis and to see exactly what you're talking about all the time or every time. It's a trip, as they used to, whatever it means, it's a trip. That's something. That when we talk about certain things, that you can stand by the door and wait and take the checklist off, because this is what's going to be happening. This is what's been happening. Okay. So I know we deserve the Resistance Award for the last 50 years. And you may think 50 years, well, 50 years ago was back in 72. Yeah, it was 72. We was just evolving into the years between 66 and 72 was training years. But by 72, we was up on where we stood with the United States. We knew, so we had a feeling of how to manage. Like right now, I would say we've been managing government affairs and snitches and everything, tattletales and collaborators. We've been managing them for 50 years. I'd put it like, 72. Our comeback was January 1st, 1972. That's when we were making a comeback. And Jahiliyyah comeback. Or in between revolutionary Jahiliyyah, a pinch of Islam comeback. Now later on in the 70s, the comeback is Islamic, because we didn't have a chance to travel around the world and to see and to hear reality, and we get a chance to look at it too. There's a difference between hearing it over here and seeing it. When we left the United States, at that time, the Japanese was coming up. And they had just came out with a squeaky Land Cruiser. It was called a Toyota Land Cruiser. That's one of the baddest boys on the road now. Them big fat tires, don't do no squeaking. Well, it stopped squeaking in a few years. And the Toyota Corolla, a girlfriend I had one in '68. She had a Toyota in '68. Probably still got it as good as they was. You know what I mean? We laughed at it. Toyota, ha ha ha, toy. Is it? Because we was used to big cars, and here was this little car. It used about 2 drops of gas, and we used to, anyway. So we're going to try to talk about the Eastern movement and Western aggression. When we think about NATO and all those things, that's an attempt. What's happening now is an attempt by America to divert attention to divert focus away from the reality. The reality is Iran, China, right, and Russia. That's just the reality. It's not either one of them by themselves. And all of them, Putin done got Russia back to where it ain't the laughing stock of the world like when Yeltsin is drunk. Can you imagine your president is drunk every day off vodka? You can't get no drunker than off vodka. Boy, I'm telling you this. And you could see it. You know where you had that drunk face? Boy, that boy had a drunk face. And the U.S. took advantage of him. And Gorbachev, he was trying to play with the United States, and the United States wasn't playing. He was sincerely, Glasnost was serious. We wanted to release the Russian people and the people of Poland from this, what we've been doing to them all this time. And everybody else told him, you can't loosen up, because as soon as you loosen one screw, it's going to shake all the rest of them loose. And he gave it a try, and the United States took advantage of him. And the United States, we won the historical battle, the end of history. What's his name? Fukuyama. Francis Fukuyama. That wasn't the end of history, that was the end of that cycle. And the U.S., what did they do with the win? They had the world on their side. They had everything going for them. And if you're talking about somebody winning the lottery and getting rich and blowing it, it's the United States. Tell the truth, the guy blew it. In 1989, they had the whole world. They could have fixed things at that time. But what did they do? Day one, they went over, let's whoop on the Iraqis. So they go over there in the first Gulf War, in that line of death, and they just slaughtered the Iraqis. And then they come back later on and do it again. And what did this white lady said? They said 750,000 children have died in Iraq. What do you think? She says, I think it's worth it. You remember that? She said, yeah, I think it's worth 750,000 children. It's worth it. From their little boycotts and stuff. And they left Saddam with enough helicopters and everything to fight the Shia. Because remember, they was telling the Shias, rise up. You could hear George Bush and the dumb Shia, not the dumb Shia, but some of them took the bait And they left Saddam enough down. They did more slaughtering of Shias in that period than they did in other. They just slaughtered them. And the U.S. told them. So now what I'm getting at is everybody got a big package of U.S. history, right? Can they go out and U.S. intervention? So they went down to Panama. Everywhere they went, you sell dope for them, they come and then they'll put you in jail and have you on the list. You are a bad boy. You are selling dope, Noriega. Oh, my Lord, what we going to do about that, right? The U.S. has double-crossed in front of everybody, right? Marcos in the Philippines. It don't make no difference. What is his name? The wife had 3,000 pair of shoes. Imelda Marcos, yeah. And then when it's time for them to go, so the world is saying, are you Ukrainians crazy to believe that fool? Oh, we love you. You go out there and get yourself some freedom. So Putin was telling, hey, man, y'all going, you're going to upset the balance here. And I'm not going to have y'all sitting on my doorstep talking all that jive. We're not going to do that. Now, you can do what you want, but I'm just telling you what we're going to do. So they said, we got him. We got him. More. Now, Ukrainians should have more sense than to be sent anywhere by the Americans. Whenever the America buy you a ticket, boy, it's for hell. It's got hell wrote on it. You just can't read the hieroglyphics, right? The United States, they don't send nobody. Look, wherever you going, it ain't gonna be no fun there. Now he not gonna be on the ticket with you. He think he going somewhere else. This time, they all going together, and I'll try to explain it. So what we see in the news today, there's several things about it. Part of it is to divert the attention away from the U.S. problems and to organize the U.S. mind when they have a war, the president's unity goes up. But at the end of that cycle, that time, those things don't work anymore. They won't work because the United States, they got, let's say half of the United States is Trumpites, right? And half is so-called Democrats with this guy, but none of them are swallowing that line except the Zionist media that's telling them this is what's happening. But nobody in Europe, you can't tell the Europeans anymore, we want y'all to pay $10 a gallon or $5, $3 a liter for gas. I think they already is. Unbelievable. And this gas, the gas in California was $5 and $6 a gallon. $5.50, was it $5.50? Huh?
It was at least $5. It was at least $5 last I looked at it. I think I did see one spot that was upper fives.
Yeah.
Almost six.
Yeah, that's right. And that was that was couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now, just remember how much money it costs to fill your tank up if gas is $4.50 or $5. And wages are not going up. Inflation in America is, it's like somebody stuck inflation on a plane, and instead of putting it in the water, they just flew it off, and it gets going on up, right? Right now, today, when you go to the store tomorrow and you remember what you paid last week is inflated. Some people are telling me some of the stores are empty-ish. Well, I can see that they're empty, but when you hear it from everybody else, you say, hey, man, this is really, they're empty-ish. Okay. Can you imagine the condition that the United States of America is in? And instead of trying to help the people bring the oil prices down, instead of trying to help the Europeans bring the gas prices and all the prices down in the wintertime, you know, what is it that you can't ameliorate the rhetoric and tell your friends this is not the time to do what, because that's what, who tells them what to do, the U.S. And especially the Russians now are waiting, and they're going to put all of that out, WikiLeaks it out, whatever. They already was putting it out, but they were saving stuff, right? And it didn't look bad. I mean, it did look bad for everybody in the U.S. It was looking bad for all the people. There was shenanigans in the Ukraine. It wasn't upright honesty, that type of thing. It was like eye-rolling Ukraine, right? And all the people involved. And then you mix in there Nazis and what have you, and the U.S. is being friendly with Nazis after the Russians lost 28, 29, 27 million people to the Nazis, right? And they don't expect them to do nothing. That's just why we're saying that this is a little different than half a league, half a league, half a league onward. But into the valley of death rode the 600. Into the valley of psychological inability to realize where you are, right? The Americans have forgot when they say we're over there for truth and freedom and justice, and everybody started laughing. No matter what the dumb UN say, how much they got to pay them people to say that stuff in the UN, right? And it goes longer than 4 or 5 days. And there the prices go up, and here the prices go up, right? And we already had inflation. Hey, that man is dumb. He's dumb. He don't have no win. It ain't nothing. He don't get nothing but rhetoric, free rhetoric. And the more he talk, the deeper he get in SHIT. The deeper he gets, right? Because the world news, if you listen to the world news, they're not going for it. Only public radio and a few of them. But then when you counterbalance that and you mix in RT and you mix in the RT radio and you mix in news from Iran and Chinese news, everybody is, you said somebody is lying here. And who has a history? Chinese news, no matter what you say, is accurate, right? RT has to be accurate because if they tell one lie, they'll publicize it all over the world. So they have to be accurate. They have real people on there that act real quick. Of course, they're pro-Russian, but now we'll move on. So the NATO Alliance, very possible that it'll be weakened by this because it's already weakened. It's not stronger because the United States is saying it. And the Russians, and the Germans, the French, and everybody is saying, man, what you doing ain't right. This ain't right. You know what I mean? And they are from over there, so they know Who's did well? All of them have an intelligence agency. The French have a good one. Even the British got a good one. So they all know that something is wrong. Counter distractions, actions. So what we're doing today, we're countering the distractions. Our action is that it's a counter move. It's us exposing the United States when they still floating on a cloud. They still talking out the side of their mouth. Well, we're not riding with them. We're not riding with them. Let me see who the heck this is. Okay. We're not with them. So the desire to divert attention, it doesn't work to divert it away from, excuse me 1 second. Salam alaikum, I'm in class right now.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Will you be done?
It's going to be a while, but I may not, I have to put off anything I said maybe till tomorrow sometime. Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Okay. So, divert attention, focus for China, Russia, and Iran. Now, we have a strategic alliance now that's organized. This is a fight. This is the grab for the world. It would automatically be. The United States got a free gift, but you think about it, that was over 30 years ago, and they didn't use it. They used it to actually the opposite. They didn't do nothing to help humanity. They didn't do nothing to help humanity. They had a free ride. Everybody joining NATO, and everybody getting away from Russia, mean old Russia. But it's not like that now. It's not mean old Russia anymore. Russia didn't help to crush the thing in Syria, right? Russia didn't actually help in Africa. Russia has a better reputation than most of the people because they went there. You know, in South Africa, the Cubans, which was hooked up with the Russians, but the Cubans, and most of them was black, they went over there and they whooped South Africa's behind. And when they want to find out, when old Clinton went over there and told Mr. Mandela, we want you to kind of stay away from those Cubans. So I was watching TV, Clinton was standing there, he says, whoever says something like that to us, and he says, those people was with us in our darkest hour. And he told them you could jump in a pool. This is what we used to say when we was a kid, jump in the lake, swallow a snake, and come out with a bellyache. So he was telling them not the full thing. Jump in a pool, that's the same as jump in the lake. In other words, you can go to hell. You can go to hell. Those people, hey man, when people was verbally with us, but they sent Cuban troops to Angola. From Angola, they came in on the South Africans. And that, hey man, that broke them down. That was the actual breakdown. That's what broke the back. Sanctions helped a little, but they broke the back of South Africa. The Cubans, 65% of the Cuban troops was black, maybe more. Okay. Counter distractions. What we're doing now, I want you to understand what we're doing. We're doing what we have been doing. But we're saying right now that we're going to demand that people keep score of what we're saying now. Keep historical accounts of what we're saying now. Because we're saying what we're saying now based on the way the world has been traveling, the cycles of the earth. All right. counter distractions, tried and trusted counter diversionary acts. In other words, we're countering their actions to divert the public. They're doing what they're doing to divert the people, to divert the media, to divert all their minds off all their failures. But they're not diverting them, they're highlighting their failures. And we're pointing it out to them. So they can pay attention. They don't have to. We don't care because we're not in this publicity. But we're keeping record. And remember, I don't know, y'all been to school more than I have. If you get a 90 or above, you get an A, maybe a A minus or something. If it's 90.
Sometimes it's an A minus, but typically in the university it's an A.
It's an A. That's so. So what we said here is on the thing. If we got 9 points or 10 points out of what we said, and we hit 9 of them, that means we got an A. If they did Abu Ghraib, if they got kicked out of Iraq, right? If they got kicked out of Afghanistan, and then when they get kicked out, they keep all the money so the people are starved to death, right? If that's right, if our people, if Hezbollah has suffered and survived all their points, right? If Hezbollah refused to go to war with the Phalange, this is only 2 months ago, those people that killed Hezbollah, and they refused, just like we refused. We refused to fight niggas. Do you realize how supportive they don't know they're supporting our position? But we're using them to show the world, because they may not believe us. We say, look at them. Look at what they did. They did same thing we did here. They could knock them boys out of the box. They ain't touching them. Because they doing just like something is going around. Something is going around. In Yemen, their allies can slaughter anybody they want to, and it's okay. The Zionists can destroy as many. They just killed the other day a 14-year-old boy, right? And it's normal. In other words, their allies can do anything they want. That's what we're pointing out. That's what we're pointing out. And if anything we say is correct, right, then that's going on our list. We've been correct, da-da-da-da-da. And if they can prove something is incorrect, well, we want to see it. But when the people hear what they say, see, remember now, they're saying this is the original charge of the Light Brigade. This is not the end of it. See, remember when they first started talking a few days ago? It sounded like one thing, and now the sound is changing. Well, by the end of this cycle, it's going to be really have changed. And you know who's going to be stupid? America. You know who's going to look like a clown? You know who's getting no benefit out of this? Remember, in a war, da-da-da-da, I remember Bush did something that went up to 81 points. Everybody getting, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. Because people know in their heart, they remember in Ukraine, didn't I see, wasn't what is the old man's name, son, wasn't he getting some money from over there or something? Yeah, all of that.
The alternative media is like a counterbalance.
Right. Hey, man, there's so much information now. But let them, see, you got to let them go. Let them run, because they just going to run it. They're going to want to, thinking everybody going to listen to them. Right? But the people are not listening to them anymore. Because the people know that they're lying. They can see that life is not better. They can see their children going to school, got to come out of college with a let's say 100,000. I don't even know how it's possible. $100,000 in debt and no job to go to that's worth anything. The job paid $10, well, $30 an hour, and you got to pay back $100,000. You'll be 100,000 years trying to pay that back, right? And look at this great American story. They don't look at themselves. They don't pull out a mirror. California has already fallen off into the ocean. I mean, it might as well. It would do better. If it fell off in the ocean, it would be better. If you just sent the people a message, said, look here, y'all move away from the ocean because of sickness. Then it would be better, right? That all that would fall into the ocean. It would be better than to be like it is. Have anybody seen any videos of California? It's unbelievable. And this is so-called America. What we're trying to say is the people, they don't have a mirror to look into. They don't have a historical mirror. They don't have a rearview mirror. They don't have no big windshield to look out of. They looking into their own, they're spinning their own self. They're spinning their own brains. They're not even looking. So technically, there's no way out. There's no way out for America. And Ukraine, well, the guy, he knew a lot about politics. He was a comedian, that president. He was a comedian, so, I mean, and he's acting like one. A Yahudi comedian. Right, and he's the president. Right? So you can't expect him, and him with them Zionist advisors and everybody telling them, you're going to do this. And hey, man, anyway, everything we do is tried and tested. I'm going to speed up. Wear them down, dumb them down. But we use the method of yakin in our message of certainty. It has to be, let's call it real. So the other day they said they was going to send $300 million worth of weapons. And if they did, they probably just dump them in the ocean because the Russians are not going to let them, all of them, Germany, everybody going to send some stuff to, well, who they going to send it to? Because the Russians are going to be in every spot, and they done already blew up every time a train came in. They blow it up. You know what I mean? Talking about chaos, they just hand out weapons, and half the people that's in the staff shooting each other. They shooting each other. They ain't got no signals. They ain't got no passwords.
That does sound like a setup. You mean you're going to hand out guns to civilians? Right. And you're going to tell them to go fight an armed force? Right. Stupid. No training. No communication. No radio. That is insane. Weapons.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying the same thing. It's insanity. It's a charge of the Light Brigade. It's making a move without paying attention to anything. Just ignorance and arrogance. Charging down the road. Right? You're not paying no attention that this is not 91 and 92. They have internets now. So internet is mixed with truth and falsehood. So you're going to get some of both. You're going to get some of both. Right? So if you get any little bit of truth, though, it's going to be like Kool-Aid. You take one little spoonful of Kool-Aid and it'll turn the whole thing orange. You have a whole picture, right? So when they get that little bit of truth and they mix it with water, hey, man, it's going to be so powerful that they're going to look up and say, somebody's lying to us about everything. Anyway, we'll see where we are. 300 million, 300 million my behind. If it's 300 million, who gonna get the profit anyway? The doggone arms industry.
Over a year, they said in a year, Ukraine has received $1 billion in a year in I guess, aid and weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wonder why, Putin doing what he do.
No, hey man, you pay attention to RT and other people. They didn't try to take RT off. Anyway, look, man, the information is that half the people in Crimea then surrendered and they get to keep their weapons because now they're going to fight with the. After all, hell, they Russian. Most of the people in that part is Russians. And they said the people are mad in Russia. The people in Russia ain't mad. The people here was mad. 35 million people around the world stood up on March 3rd, 2003, to be against that invasion. 35 million, I think it really was 45 million people worldwide. And it didn't have no effect on the dummy. He went anyway. And here, if they have 5 people out there, they have 5, these Ukrainians. One of the ladies searched my stuff when I came back. When I came back one time, they have a table full of pamphlets, and so they have them in Spanish, English, and they have them in different subjects. They have them in Russian, and so the lady was searching. My stuff had a deep accent, and I hadn't paid no attention because the American one and the Russian one was the same color. They was both kind of red. When I came back, she said, "This is Russian." I didn't say, "Oh, it's Russian," because they looked the same. Because I took a whole stack and I took part of another stack, and so I said, "This lady got an accent." So now I'm assuming she had a Russian accent, but she was from Ukraine. And the conversation was like, well, somebody has to run the world and manage it. I said, well, we sure don't want this team to be doing it. I said, you done got here and got hooked up, and you want that team to win. I said, the same way them people treat y'all over there. I said, what the hell do you think they do with us here? They got you right here. Why are you here? What are you doing? Why am I here for 4 hours? Why am I here for 4 hours? What are you doing? Right? That's them. Right? So if it's Russians for you, hell, shoot. They treating you good compared to us. They wasn't lynching y'all and burning you. This boy over here. Anyway, redirect world attention. That's the whole thing they're trying to do. Redirect the world attention from losing America, running out of Afghanistan, leaving the people behind. They're trying to clean it up now. It's too late. They already got a reputation for leaving people behind. They done already killed 7 children, probably more, but they said 7 children and 3 adults, shooting the missile. And the people that they shot was their allies. It's insanity. You look, you couldn't write this if you was writing a revolutionary script for how we're gonna, you know what I mean, evolve and take power from the people. You would be too busy laughing. You read the script, it sounds like a comedy strip. Right? Tell the truth. It's like ain't no enemy gonna act like this guy. He's handing everything away. Well, when he get beat all around the eyes, he can't breathe, his nose is puffed up, right? He don't have senses. People don't realize that stuff have an effect on you. You lose your historical perspective. The people elect idiots. And the old thing Nero fiddled by Rome while Rome burned is just what they're doing. It don't mean Nero's sitting there fiddling, playing a fiddle and Rome is on fire. It means that he was incapacitated. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't do nothing. And everything he did helped the fire. That's the way America's declined. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And then they want to stop us. They stop us. They ought to send the last few things they got over here so we can at least help them. I ain't gonna let you niggas help me. I don't want your help. It's good. How to wear the Negro down. How to wear boss man down. Okay. This stuff is how to wear us down. It haven't worked. We're too used to it. You can't wear us down. I don't care whether they leave the water running over there. Can you imagine the water was running almost for a month there? That can't happen. They got to call. They got to send the guy out and turn the water off. The water's out there, right? Then the pump wasn't working. And the pump would pump the water out there so you'd step in. Oh, the must be water downstairs, right? And then the heater that keeps everything, you go down there and look, oh, the heater's off. Somebody turned off the heater. So that whatever happened, hey man, I can't wait to go talk to him. That's what I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna bring some pictures of Oakland and everything. I'm gonna say, y'all is crazy. So this has nothing to do. I said, I don't care. My time is to say what I want. I'm gonna say this. So to get up, be on record, Okay, explain championship rounds. Okay. We've been in championship rounds. I want to explain it for the 50,000th time. And number one, it's just like George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. George Foreman was so bad, he was knocking everybody out in the first, third. He'd never been over 5 rounds. And Ali knows that. So all he's got to do is go over 5 rounds, and he's going to be tired. And you remember how Foreman is looking at the end? He's just like washing windows. He's not even hurting. And then maybe it was the 8th round, 7th, 8th round. He'd come out, and that's it. And he was shocked. See, George is kind of a friend of mine, and his trainer is a real good friend of mine. Charlie Shipes is a good friend of mine. That's because George used to live in Oakland. He's back down in Texas now somewhere. But anyway, George was shocked, and it did a deal on him. So when he came back, he had to be helped not only physically, he was weighing 320 pounds, but psychologically. And my homeboy, Charlie, helped him do it. Yeah, that was his trainer, and also he fought for the middleweight championship, and he got into business, and it takes away your feel for fighting because you're getting so rich. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it. So anyway, not that we was in the penitentiary together. I mean, and we grew up, he was older than me. He's the one that brought Sonny Liston by. I'm out there hustling. Sonny Liston was in the car, and he was looking at me so mean. And I'm a youngster. I was just playing, of course. I said, I ain't scared of you. I don't mean I wasn't, but I mean, I was just saying, because ain't nobody scared of you, And he was with my friend that became the biggest man in certain things. So I knew why they was together. Just when I seen them, I just knew what they was. Okay. No, you got to realize what we're doing. Remember Sugar Ray Robinson, pound for pound? Sugar Ray Robinson could knock you out backing up. That was rare for fighters. So when we out in the ring, we can go any way we want. We can sidestep, bam, hit him. We can back up. And what do we use? We use his weight. He's leaning towards you, and you just, I'll tell you, it don't make no difference what everybody believes. Dear people in the audience, we're whooping Boss Man so bad. His eyes is puffed up. He bleeding from his behind. Hey, ears is bleeding. Boss Man is in bad shape. And we're doing it. We're taking full credit. Yeah, I mean, we're doing the physical, psychological damage because we're telling them what's going to happen, and it's happening. Then why would all of these things be happening to Boss Man, and it has no sense to it? We use the word discombobulated. That means that he just, nothing working. It's there, but it's discombobulated. That's what happened to the Boss Man. And he should have picked on somebody else because longevity has its place. You fight somebody for 50 years, you're going to be there that long, you got to learn how to fight him. And you may trick him so much that you use what God give you. You don't use, I got to dress up like David and Goliath. He tried to put on that armor, Saul's armor. He said, I can't fight him with this. I'm going to take a slingshot, right? Something he used every day. Nigga used selling wolf tickets, talking trash and all that. He used it every day. That's what God gave him. That's what he's going to use. So we've been using. Yeah, we've been using it. And psychologically, we slap boss man gets slapped around. I don't suggest Chinese use it. They got to figure out their own formula. Russians, they figure out their own formula. But if they take 5 or 10% of what we're doing, it'll boost up their game a little bit. That's what we say to Chinamans and all the people like that. Use your pattern, but pick up 5% of this Negro stuff. That 5%, man, look at here. It'll get you over all the way. Because he won't expect you to use nothing. He thought he done degraded us so much that nobody's going to listen to them. They'll listen to their music. They'll listen to all that. But they're not going to listen to what they say. That's what they think. That ain't so. Hey, we're living in a time now. This is basically our time. We don't have to fit into anything they say. This is our time. Allah is hooking us up. Allah has hooked us up already and look like it's getting better. We don't have to last the time they say. We don't have to fit square things in a round hole. We don't have to do none of that. That's what they told people they have to do to be a success. In order to be that, you're going to have to get an organization. You're going to have to have superior organization. And you're going to have this bull crap. We whooping the white man backing up. That's what you have to understand. Pound for pound, Sugar Ray Robinson, right? He was knocking out people backing up. That don't happen. Right? You don't hit people. You got to be leaning forward. That's true. But not with Sugar Ray. And we know who we use as our. So we're psychologically whooping the white man backing up. If you look around, you'll think, there and I decline, there and I default, there I lose it. That's what that cracker say. We got them closed down all our way. They're using it as an office for a garbage place. That's what they look. That's what they're using it for. We whooping his behind, backing up. Backing up, we have not been wrong about nothing. And I'm going to say it but I don't mean it, of course. Never. We have never been wrong about boss man. Never been wrong. Never is a long time. But in the last 30 years, and let's just to be safe, the last 25 years, I'll ask anybody, have they ever heard us make any mistaken forecast or prediction? Hey, we don't have to get there. We're already there. We could stand still and we'll pass boss man up because he's down. He's accelerating his decline. Okay, enemy, USA, best days worse sell you. Heating, air conditioning. Oh, that was, what's the name? We won't mention that. Our air conditioning unit outside. That was the Iranian. That was a slick Iranian, boy, I tell you. Actually, the set was used. It was used. But one of the guys had bought it. One Iranian had bought it to put it in his big giant restaurant. It didn't fit or something, so he sold it to us. Of course, he's a crooked Iranian. Boy, I tell you, it's a crooked Iranian. Yep, it's okay. We have a good feel of the ascending and decline of world powers. Yeah, okay. So we have a good feel. I don't care whether it's in our talks, our lectures, our proposals. We have a good feel for the ascendancy of ourself and other people. So China has been on the ascendancy for decades. We've been talking about China for decades, right? They just talking about them last week when they look up at China and turning from a paper tiger to a big old mountain tiger with, right? Eating up everything in town and eating him up too. I have to give it to China to be able to chew up and devour your opponent and almost ready to digest him, and he just wakes up that he's being chewed up. Not that it's too late. And then he try to organize all his friends, and he's hanging out of the tiger's mouth, and they looking at him. So the Germans is looking at it as a boss man, that you get chewed up. And then they look at, and he trying to, you get on my team. And they saying, so you want me to join you in the tiger's mouth? You want me to go and get digested? That's what Germany, that's what everybody's looking at him like that. Because they know boss man is not fair. Can you imagine how he double-crossed his friends in front of everybody? And he think they forget it. He really do. It was last 2 months ago, Australia and France. That was just the other day. And he's now saying, well, let's go and charge the light brigade. They looking at them, go ahead, go on down there. We'll be there in a minute, right? That's what they're saying, go on down there.
Or like you said yesterday, you only lost 500,000, we lost millions.
Right, yeah. You mean like Russians?
Well, no, the U.S., they say when the U.S. talks about World War II,
Right.
or when they talk about
Yeah, World War II.
they talk against Russia, they never mention the millions. They only mention, we lost 500,000.
500,000. They lost 27, 28 million people. And that's a low count. That's a low count. And remember, this has been going on over and over again. That's why, your luck run out sooner or later. The decline were West and weapons, Sabiqun, in the midst of global part we play. Yeah, this global part we playing. Do not feel alone or deserted. We're playing in the United States. We're playing the number one part in Negro land. We're playing our part here. Yeah, we playing our part. It don't make no difference what they say or what they unscrew this or that. That don't have nothing. They so dumb that hey man, all they can do is we get more famous. Cause see, the way history is, it comes out with, well, that was an analysis in the 80s and analysis in the 90s, and that analysis said this, and it'll be us what we said, right? And remember, we're not working to take over nothing. We're working so we say what's right at the right time, and so everybody know we're willing to take a chance and go out front. But we're not. We're trying to be in the mix as a cooperator, a condoler, a facilitator. No, Faisal, to make things easy, to make the future world we want to build easier. We don't have to have stripes on our shirt or nothing. The people are dumb because they think, well, that's a nigga. You got to be trying to get some power because that's what niggas want. They ain't never had none. So well, that's not true. We had tons of it. And it's not whether we like it or not. But we're not doing too bad. I don't think we could do it. There's nothing I could imagine that we could do that it would be more fun than what's happening right now. I can't imagine anything. The stuff that they doing with the prop, that don't even count. It's where we fit in this. You know what I mean? That's what's happening. That's only one thing. That's the only thing that matters. The other things are side shows. Like, okay, if we was hooked up to what they want to hook up to, we would be crazy. Okay, we'll move toward a close. Francis Fukuyama, End of History. End of history is the end of a cycle. That's the way we're. When he was talking about the end of history, he was meaning the end. The Soviet Union has fallen, and that's the end of that cycle of history. That's the way I'm doing it with us. That there's no end of history, long as it's keep moving forward. Everything that happened 2 minutes back is going to be history, right? So,
So as they talk, we're witnessing the so-called unipolar influence of the U.S. to a multipolar.
oh, it's gone. This what the U.S. Look what they did with it. They didn't stop wars, they made wars. In fact, during this period, they did more wars than all other time. They did wars. They killed people. They didn't fix nothing because that arrogance. We won this. We took this. You know what I mean? And then see, this is the thing I've been wanting to say. If you defeat a tough opponent, this guy is bad. He's championships. If the U.S. defeats the Soviet Union, they should establish. You don't talk to them like they're crazy, like a little old child, and make fun of them. Because then he got a reason to fight now. So if you did all that, and then you got Yeltsin, you got, what was the guy before with the little birthmark up here, I think. Gorbachev, then you get Yeltsin. When you get Putin, ex-KGB, a red flag on his heart, you know what I mean? Yeah, he gonna say yeah. Hey, that's what you can see you can see who he is, What he do, what he's about, it's all right there. You don't have to ask no questions about, well, where's Mr. Putin coming from? Well, he's been there forever. Well, he let Medvedev, whatever his name was, run the show for a couple of days, but he was right there telling him what to do. And then you look at Russia. Russia is on the comeback trail. They're not going to just, I'm going to get mad and throw it all in the water. No. Charge of the Light Brigade. So what he did was, let's let them run right into this. Where are they headed? We done told them don't do it. We're determined to F everything up. Well, okay, go ahead. Right? You can see that's what Putin doing. China's doing the same thing. And the world knows. You talking about sending weapons to China. To Taiwan. Why all of a sudden now you want to start trouble all over the world? Where we at? Right? It's clear. Everybody can see it, right? There ain't no. That's the thing about it. Remember, I was telling y'all about the lizards and everything could change colors, and well, they can do it here. But out in the woods, when they change colors, you can't hardly see them because it fits in with the woods. But if they're in here and they eat up all the little flies and everything, they cannot change that color. It's an artificial color, right? There's nothing in history, in nature that comes like that on that flat surface. So you can see the poor thing is standing out there and you can see him, right? Everything the U.S. does, everybody can see it. Everybody can see it. He's out there because he can't change that color. It's not that color don't exist in nature. Okay, we'll move. Is it a shift? We call it a tectonic shift. The tectonic plates and all that stuff. But this is what is happening. This is the end of history, but it's not the end of his story. Yes, the end of his history. It's the end. It'll never be the end of his story, but he's playing a part in his own destruction and his own decline. And so it says, just like when the movie is over, the end. And if we put up the end tomorrow, it'll be at a proper time. The end for Boss Man. Tectonic shift, Iran, China, Russia. Tectonic shift not realized. Okay. So this shift, although it's earthquaking and shaking, the people involved don't feel a shaking. They're just numb to it. Russia reborn. I would Negroes forgiveness. Well, we don't talk about the Negroes and their forgiveness syndrome, but that's what they do. Chinese 4,000 plus years. I did look at a one of those things last night, but I looked at a new one, and it was the historian, the great historian, the great record keeper. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, I saw that one. But see, the Chinese are smart, so they're not messing up everything. They bring in everybody with them. They're bringing their whole history, and most of their history is only 100 years of communism, right? They done reached back, and they bring in everybody. So, hey, you can't argue with that. They bringing everybody with them, and they building them up like you guys really did us a good job. You was talking about China from day one when it wasn't no China. These were the great wars. These are the great strategies. These are the great historians. We're the keepers of history when everybody else was in the caves, they were technically in the caves in Europe. EU mean caves and hillsides and the rope to bind, and of course we know what that means. But they were really in Europe, they was in Europe, caves and hills. They were really cavemen. And the Chinese was wearing silk robes, silkworms, all that come from China. They were advanced. They had ups and downs. So now they back. That 100 years, the Opium War, insulting them and all that. See, they think we just gonna do this because we bad. The Japanese did them in, the British did them in. Man, they had it bad. They did have it pretty bad. They had it almost bad as Negroes for a while. Technically, they might have had it a little worse. The rape of Nanking, 1937. The slaughter, even the things that they didn't mean to do, like the Great Leap Forward was a great leap backwards. I know they're lying. They say 30 million people died on it. And that was a movie, it was called 42. It was 1942. That was a bad year for China. Good God Almighty. But they pulled through. We just want to help them not become arrogant. And we want to let them know we've been with y'all all the time. But you can't don't go, you done had 4,000 years of history, so don't get a new bag of chips and stuff and start going crazy, right? You should be able to reflect in your history and see that we have what you did right, what you did good, and keep doing the things that are good. And the Chinese have those theories about harmonious society. You ever notice that when they talk, even way back, harmonious society, the 5 concentric circles, all that stuff. They've been into that all along. Yin and yang, right? They've been into that all along because it's real. And when you see some of these people, you kind of get the idea. Some hadiths say there was 121, right, prophets, 100, something like that, 1,000. And then you get the feel of, wait, so Buddha was probably, he was bringing the message, that's the message he brought to his people. They might have corrupted it a little. And then when you hear American Indian lore, good God Almighty, and the great expected one, the reviver, the renewer, and all of that, all the names they use for the people that they was expecting and waiting on, they're the same ones you're talking about in Hadith and everything. Yeah. So when you look around the world and now see before when these Hadiths were written, people didn't have access to all of those, and why, go all the way to China to seek knowledge. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Somebody knew something. And that China just meant a sign of ancient and modern blending together. Okay, I'm going to speed up. I'm not going to mention 1986 when we really gained focus on where we was at that time. If y'all remember, I had an outline and it talked when they had not broke in, they just took, paperwork, accordion folders and all that. And I wrote in there, big victory. Y'all can see I wrote big victory. And that's what it was. It was a big victory for us then because it outlined clearly what we would be dealing with in detail for the future. The stuff that some had this something the Chinese were saying, life could be heavy as a mountain or light as a feather. ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. What you got to figure out where all that stuff comes from. Because Chinese been big in medicine all that time. Okay, we'll kind of pass up some of the stuff. Create doubt, suspicion, U.S. motives, abuse, Okay, they missed their calling. I was going to talk about the Owl Hoot Trail. That's what America's on. Anybody know what the Owl Hoot Trail is? Look up Owl Hoot Trail. Anyway, just for the fun of it. You know, owl comes out at night most of the time, and the Owl Hoot Trail is the bad trail. You know, they got the uphill road, and then they got we talk about it all the time. The high road, the low road. Well, the Owl Hoot Trail and all the westerns meant the bandits, and it meant the robbers. See, because an owl comes out at night, and you know, so the Owl Hoot Trail is an old cowboy expression for he went bad, huh? Owlhoot. Yeah, Hoot, Owl Hoot Trail. So we was going to talk about the Owl Hoot Trail. Just keep going till they get to Owl Hoot Trail. They might have Owl Hoot this, Owl Hoot that, but anyway. So, cause and effect. Is that what it says? Yeah, outlaws and thieves. Owl Hoot Trail. They would say stuff like that. Well, how is so and so, man? How's he doing? He took the Owl Hoot Trail. White folks really something. Anyway, uh, yeah, but not Owl Hoot. We the owl. We the owl. But the Owl Hoot Trail, the Owl Hoot Trail is a road that people get on, and that's specific for them. They're riding the Owl Hoot Trail right now. Boss man is right now. We might be like the wise old owl. You know, when I go to California, there's an owl. I see them, especially in the morning. If I get out there early in the morning, I just look up there as an old owl. And I've been seeing them for years. They must live a long time, but they got. But anyway, the Owl Who Trail for Boss Man. Boss Man, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Oh, strike back, psycho spiritual warfare. We didn't kind of cover that. Remember, we're not fighting with what other people wanted us to. If we did that, we wouldn't be nowhere. If we're going to use any of the techniques that other people would use, you use the techniques according to time, place, and circumstance, and what you're dealing with. So, are there any questions or comments? Comments is fine if anybody wanted to analyze what we talked about and make a.
You would maybe comment on, how here in America, Hollywood mocks Nazis, and you can't compliment Adolf Hitler or in any way, or you get called a Nazi and stuff. But you made a good point about the military buildup on Russia's border, and how America hates Nazism
Good God Almighty.
That war, Nazis did
Yeah, they traumatized it. They call it the Russians call that the Great Patriotic War. When the old people come out now with all their medals, they get big props. There's 4 or 5 of them left probably, but they call it the Great Patriotic War.
Not only that, I was listening to somebody and they explained it from the standpoint when they come out, they're like stoic in their facial expression. They're not cheering. It's like here they compared it to America,
Right.
where in America when they're on Veterans Day or what have
Right,
you,
right,
waving flags,
right.
because they don't have that same experience of losing so many people, in the war. And so I thought that was
really
a missing element.
Yeah, that you highlighting the cultural element of Russia,
Right.
what Nazis did to them.
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have a military buildup with Nazis in power.
Yeah. You cheering.
80 years ago, maybe, and people are still alive that can relate to that. It's just, it makes a lot of sense. Sometimes
Right.
those cultural elements and the historical aspects get missed, and I thought that was a really great connection.
Right. Alhamdulillah. No, they're not gonna. There's about 2 or 3 Americans even know that 28. Let's just take 28 million people was killed. America can't imagine 28 million nothing. I mean, they talk about a few 100,000 people about the flu 1918. What was that?
Oh, the Spanish flu?
Spanish flu? Yeah. Of course, it wasn't from Spain, but they call it that. The people, they don't know. They was traumatized for years about the Civil War. 670 some thousand people was killed in the Civil War. And they never got over that. They to this day, they just getting over. And the Southerners down in Dixie, they may not be over it yet because, yeah. Anyway, so, alhamdulillah, so are there any questions or comments?
I think this is a question and a comment, I think. There are Ukrainians who are fighting alongside of Russian. The Zionist news hide this fact. They are talking about the resistance and how they are sending weapons. My question is how the Russians are controlling the sea and the air. I would believe they do have American special forces wearing Ukrainian uniforms doing different things behind the lines.
That's possible. They're gonna always have a few there, but the U.S. then got chewed up pretty bad. So Afghanistan, Iraq, all over there, the people, 22 Americans committing suicide per day. A lot of the homeless are military veterans. They've been trying for over 10 years to take in the homeless veterans, and they ain't half done yet. Whoever you see outside, they still, I was in the war, and then you got to realize some got out and went into police forces, and you got people in the physical police forces that was in the Gulf War. They're now sergeants, and there are other people, and their friends, their neighbors, the guys they was with over there. So you got to remember, the U.S. is not, no matter how much propaganda you put out, they'll always say, I was over there. See, the experiences are now so close together that people know, we promised, they got organizations to get people out of Afghanistan and all of that. Not the government, the people. They said, man, these guys saved our life, man. In Iraq, they saved I can't speak a bit of Farsi or nothing, and Arabic and all of that. And they would interpret what they're saying and what they mean to us. They putting their life on the line, and we can't get them out. When it comes to getting them out, oh, we got to go through the paperwork. Oh, we got to, right? And so those people, you can hear them on TV, they're everywhere. They say, man, this is dirty. And we promise the people the world, then we pack up in one day and leave, and then we leave them there. With the Taliban, with the baddest people, got the worst reputation in the world. We leave them there with them. But anyway, that's going to backfire too. Taliban going to get the Holy Ghost and get in the Sunnah, and they're going to be peace and love. Just wait and see. All that stuff. Yeah, it comes back. You know what I mean? Yeah, it comes back. You just have to wait a while. If there's no questions, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now everybody gets, up in arms. And because I relate everything through what we usually, go through, the question of accountability for that action. I saw the same thing when we started our winter offensive. As soon as you went out to, speak outside,
Mm-hmm.
the response was, why you gotta do it like that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's talking unity, but it seems like he's being, he's causing disunity.
Yeah, they didn't say the same thing about us.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They tried to box us in, and then
So that's what I saw when this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because I try to relate everything
Right to what our experience.
So I just saw the similarities. Basically,
No, that's why we're so accurate, because everything they do to us already, they go through a cycle. They do it over and over again. So this may be the 10th or 15th cycle that we've been outside talking, and they say, we might have been down, this might have been years ago, we was down at CARE saying the same basic thing. And some of the dumb people would say, why you do that? Why we go, we take the Black Lives Matter out of the thing because you don't believe in no black lives, black lives. And we're telling the people everything that they read in the newspaper last year, right? Everything, exactly. So the thing about our mission is that actually it just sounds a little funny, but when we read the Quran and Hadith, we kind of believe it a little bit, I mean, not the super believers, but we kind of believe it a little bit. It says, do this and don't do that. Well, if it's said enough, we ain't gonna try. I ain't gonna even try to do that. If it say don't do it, we ain't. And if it say do this, okay, there's a cost to it. Stand up for Allah. Whether it's against your friends, everybody. But there's a cost to it, and we're willing to take the cost. To tell you the truth, it's not a cost anymore. I guess we've been doing it so long, it's like normal, and it ain't nothing at all. It's not arrogance like we know we're right, but we have a feeling, we have yaqeen, a certain amount of certainty in what we're doing. And so that's the important thing. And we have a little bit of certainty about them. Not we're better than anybody, or not that but we know from what we've been reading, that's not right. That's wrong. And if you want to put the thing at what keeps the scale, the thing right in the middle of the balance, right, wrong. Right, wrong. Okay, and so we just keep it simple. So if they want to have a million people at Juma and not tell them nothing, okay. And all the criterion for the Quran, unity, and is there, okay, that's wrong. So we're going to do that. We ain't going to overdo it to make everybody mad and talk about you a bunch of hypocrites and stuff like that. No, we're not going to do that. We might have done it years ago, but you gain some information. Eventually, those people are going to be our allies. They have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to go. There's absolutely nowhere to go. They can go join the Saudis. Look at what we told them about the Saudis. Look where the Saudis are now. Look at some of the other Gulf states walking, holding hands with the Zionists. And they got all them Palestinians they let living in their country, and they're breaking their hearts. Okay, we don't have to argue about what's right and what's wrong. It's all clear. Okay, so, alhamdulillah, we thank y'all very much. Akula Kali Hada.